Greetings, everybody. It's me, your friendly neighborhood Uncle Pete, and this is the newest installment in my horror movie superlative series that I am collaborating with my good friend Carlin. We just finished up the 80s a few weeks ago, and you guys voted on which decade you wanted to see next, and you guys voted on the 70s. So, real quick, we go through each year of the decade and we pick out some categories for all the horror movies released that year. The categories we select are most amazing, so bad it's good, most WTF movie, best gore, most unique, most overrated, and most underrated. Rules are pretty simple. We actually had to have watched the movie that we're selecting, and we can only use a movie once for a category. I hadn't seen a lot of horror movies from 1970, and this is why I actually took a couple of weeks for Carl and I to start this series, because I actually had to watch a bunch of movies, and I really enjoyed some of them, so this should be pretty interesting. So, if you haven't already, I'd love if you consider hitting that subscribe button on my channel, and Carlin's as well. He puts out a bunch of videos every week, really great in-depth movie reviews. And I had this series and my Nails in a Coffin series, which is released every Friday. Those videos are a lot of fun, and I'm just finishing up my stay at Camp Crystal Lake for the summer as I covered all the Friday the 13th movies. But what I need you to do is, after you watch this video, I need you to go to Carlin's channel. There will be a link in the description. Watch his video with the same name as this one, and then go to the community tab on his page and vote for who you thought had the better picks, where those picks most closely resembled yours, or you thought whoever had the better justifications. It's up to you. Just please make sure you watch both videos first before you go vote, because it's just a friendly competition with Carl and I. And also, let us know in the comments down below what your selections are. I love to read those comments when you guys told me about each year in the 80s, and that was a lot of fun. So I definitely love to hear what you guys think for as we tackle the decade of the 70s. So that's pretty much it. So 1970 had some special movies, let's just say. I really enjoyed some of them. So let's get down to it, and we're going to pick out some horror movie superlatives for 1970. My selection for the most amazing horror movie of 1970 goes to Scars of Dracula, starring Christopher Lee in an excellent Hammer film. I really enjoyed the beginning of this movie. Dracula's ashes are on an altar, and this was actually from the end of the movie that came out before. Taste the blood of Dracula. No thanks. Dracula is actually resurrected when a bat pukes up blood on the ashes. It's a silly scene, but it did make me smile. Movie's about a young man that spends a night in Castle Dracula, and he's murdered. And then the young man's brother comes to this small town where the castle resides, and he searches for answers to his brother's death. And who doesn't love Christopher Lee as Dracula? He just puts out an excellent performance, and he's one of the best actors to ever play this role. He chews the scenery up in the best way possible. The sets are gorgeous in the movie, and the women look beautiful as well. The costume design, really love this movie. And out of all the horror movies I've actually seen that came out in 1970 that I watched for this series, I definitely enjoyed this one the best. So it was my selection for the most amazing horror movie to come out in 1970. And my selection for the so bad it's good horror movie goes to Count Yorga Vampire, also known as The Loves of Count Yorga. This is a lesser known vampire film when you compare it to like Universal horror vampire films and Hammer horror vampire films that starred Christopher Lee. But when I was looking up information on this film, I found out that the script was originally planned for a softcore porn film, but it was changed when Count Yorga, played by Robert Quarry, he saw the script and he wanted to play the role seriously, and it was changed to a serious vampire film instead of being a softcore porn. And I do have to say, Robert Quarry, he puts everything into this character. You can tell he really wanted to do his best. It's not the best vampire movie of all time, but I definitely had fun watching it. The shot at the end after Count Yorga is defeated, it made me laugh out loud, and I had to back it up and watch it a few more times because it just made me smile at the end, and this whole movie made me smile. Not the best horror movie out there, but I definitely think you're going to have a lot of fun watching Count Yorga Vampire. And for my most WTF movie, and boy did this movie earn that title for me, Mumsy, Nanny, Sonny, and Girly. I had never heard of this movie before I looked it up when I was looking at all the horror movies that came out in 1970. And when I watched the trailer, I was already saying WTF.
I'm the mumsy. I'm only the nanny.
My name's Sonny.
My name's Girly.
Mumsy, Nanny, Sonny, and Girly.
And I watched the full movie, and I kept saying WTF. The characters are played serious, and the movie really doesn't play as a comedy, and that's why, to me, it really comes out as WTF. There's no blood in this movie, but damn, the performances really are unsettling. So you got some adults playing the roles of Mumsy, Nanny, Sonny, and Girly. Girly and Sonny seek out playmates to bring back to their home to take part in their sadistic game. And this movie gave me very similar vibes to the movie The Baby. And if you're familiar with The Baby and you enjoyed it, I think you're going to enjoy this one because that's a WTF movie. And Mumsy, Nanny, Sonny, and Girly was my selection for the most WTF movie of 1970. And my selection for Best Gore goes to The Wizard of Gore. Comparing the Gore to other movies of 1970, this one, was probably my favorite, and that's why I had to select it. It was directed by the godfather of Gore, Herschel Gordon Lewis, and as my good friend Josh would say, from movie timelines, it's in the title, Wizard of Gore. Montag the Magnificent, he hypnotizes and performs mutilation tricks to female volunteers, but the women appear unharmed after the trick, but later on they die in the same manner they were mutilated on stage. So it's really interesting, and I think this movie really pushed the boundaries of gore when it came out. I mean, there were promos for this movie when it came out saying that if you're weak of heart, if you have children, turn away. It was all marketing. They were trying to play it off, but the movie does have great gore, and that's why I had to select it. Most unique horror movie I went with, I Drink Your Blood. This movie is all camp. It's a grindhouse film, 100%. It's about a sadistic group of hippies who wreak havoc on a small town. They rape a young woman who happened to actually witness one of the satanic rituals. And it's a violent and vicious at times, but it's also funny at times as well. So to get revenge on this group, a young kid finds a dead dog who had died of rabies, and he takes a syringe and takes the dog's blood. He then injects the blood into meat pies that they give to the cult members, thusly infecting them with rabies. So I like how this young kid didn't wait for an adult to help him get revenge. I mean, this kid even had a medical bag with him, doing all these injections and stuff. And I found that unique. It can be definitely silly at times with the men foaming from their mouths because they have rabies, of course. But I don't want to say too much about this movie since it definitely is worth the watch if you really enjoy early grindhouse films. And yeah, I definitely think it was unique. I like the story. I like how the kid took charge to try and go get revenge. And that was unique for me. And it was my most unique horror movie for 1970. My most overrated selection, I went with Multiple Maniacs. I'm not saying this is a bad movie. I'm just saying I really didn't care for it. Directed by John Waters. I know he's got a huge following, and I kind of know what he was going for with this movie, but I just didn't enjoy it. The plot revolves around a group of sideshow performers who rob audience members. I did enjoy the performance by Divine, a famed drag queen from the 1970s, but that performance wasn't strong enough to make me enjoy the movie as a whole. I'm not saying I just didn't get it. I'm just saying I didn't care for it. If people like it, I think that's great. It's not a poorly made movie, but when I compare it to the other horror movies I've actually seen that came out in 1970, it was the movie I liked the least, so that's why I selected it for my most overrated pick. And my selection for most underrated horror movie goes to Vampire Lovers. Another Hammer horror film, and I already adored it just because it was a Hammer horror film. It's about a seductive vampire, Carmilla, and her family who target the beautiful and the rich in a remote area of the late 18th century Germany. The movie was based on the novel Carmilla, which actually predates Bram Stoker's Dracula by 20 years, and I found that, fascinating. The movie is the first in a trilogy of films, the other two being Lust for the Vampire and Twins of Evil. All three films are really daring for the time for depicting lesbian themes. I enjoyed the story and the performances. It was a tantalizing movie without being overly gratuitous, and I think that's why I selected it for most underrated, because it's a gothic horror movie with an excellent atmosphere. I mean, I actually want to go read the novel now because I enjoyed this movie so much. And when I compared it to all the other horror movies from 1970 that I had watched, this is the one I probably never really heard about that much, so that's why I selected it for my most underrated pick. Well, there we go, ladies and gentlemen. Those are all my selections. Here's a quick summary. Most Amazing, Scars of Dracula, So Bad It's Good, Count Yorga Vampire, WTF movie, Surely, Mumsy, Nanny, Sunny, and Girly. Best Gore goes to The Wizard of Gore. Most unique with I Drink Your Blood. Most overrated, John Waters, Multiple Maniacs. And most underrated, Hamahara Film, Vampire Lovers. I really want to thank you again for watching this video. Now, please go to Carlin's channel, link in the description, and watch his video with the same name. And then go to Community tab on his channel and vote on who you thought had the better picks. Again, like I mentioned earlier, please let me know in the comments down below what your picks would have been. I really love to read those. And if you haven't already, again, please consider hitting that subscribe button. I'm having a lot of fun with this channel. I'm coming up on my 1-year anniversary, and I appreciate everybody taking this journey with me. It does mean a lot. So, yeah, hopefully go check out my Nails in a Coffin series because I have a lot of fun with those videos. So, everybody, take care of yourselves, take care of each other, stay safe, stay happy. I am your friendly neighborhood Uncle Pete, and remember, with great kills, there must also come great nails.